So welcome to the first webinar of our online academy, TR Consulting, Treasury Consulting LLP. In this webinar, we would be covering that how the Deutsche Bank, which is amongst the largest banks in the globe and also amongst the largest bank in the Europe, a very well named, is cooking $42 trillion of the derivative valuation, and how over the period of the time Deutsche Bank has created a mess in the financial system. So this is being the first webinar of 60 minutes, and we would be covering a lot of things about the Deutsche Bank, how the M2M accounting is happening, and so on and so forth. But in the meantime, please please mute your microphones, right? Okay. In the meantime, as you know that I'm always being a very practical person and would like to and believe in the practicality. So you are always welcome to ask any question anytime. So we are starting roughly 12:30 now, and at 12:45, after every 15-20 minutes, we would have small round of question and Q&A session. If you have any question, don't think that this is an out of the way question and this is within the way question. You are welcome to ask the question. That is not a problem anytime. But please don't ask any political question. Any business related question, you are always welcome to ask. Okay, so we first start this. In case you have any questions in mind pertaining to the what pertaining to Deutsche Bank, or shall I start? Anybody? All the four people have any questions in mind pertaining to Deutsche Bank, or shall I start? Okay. So let us start. So Deutsche is one of the biggest banks we have in Europe. There is no doubt about that. But unfortunately, we know that how the banking is happening. You know, banking is in a mess nowadays, and especially when it comes to the US banking and this is basically American banking and the European banking. American banking is not getting highlighted, and 100% credit goes to the marketing which Federal Reserve is doing nowadays. So because of that, US banking is not getting highlighted. On the other hand, I'm not saying that European Central Bank has not done a credible job. They did a credible job, but over the period they failed to create the enough marketing of their banks. If we carefully see, majority of the European banks are falling nowadays. Now, taking an example of Deutsche. Deutsche is trading approximately $14, $14. If you look at the another big bank in Switzerland, which is Credit Suisse, it is again in a mess. If we look Wells Fargo, it is in a mess. If we look your ING, it is in a mess. Majority of the banks are falling. In fact, you would be very surprised to listen this, which I am telling you right now. European banks are performing well in US than in Europe. And the perfect example I got to know few days ago when I was watching Bloomberg TV, and I saw a discussion whereby I saw that BNP Paribas. You all know BNP Paribas? All five people? So BNP Paribas did a credible job in the last quarter in the US versus the European subsidiary of the BNP Paribas. So this was quite surprising to me that one of the best European banks, BNP Paribas, has not done well in Europe and they are doing well in the US. I'm not saying that there is nothing wrong. There is nothing wrong cooking in US markets. There is, but at the same time, we should also believe that sitting now, the European Central Bank and Bank of England failed to counter this. Before to moving technically, I also would like to appraise you one important fact is that 2017 might not be a good year for the banking and especially for the foreign exchange market. But yes, it would be very good year for trading. Trading in the sense like the people who are doing currency trading and maybe equity trading, interest rate derivatives and others. So why? Because 2017 would be a year when we will see a lot of volatility, and also at the same time we would see a backlash also. Like I was watching a discussion on the Bloomberg TV, and I got to know that that the Germany has clearly said that if their demand is not going to be met, then they are not interested in doing any kind of implementation of the Basel III in the near term. Now, when the discussion was happening, this was quite surprising to me that how can a country, although it is one of the one of the big countries in Europe, How can a country go against the Basel III and saying that if my demand is not going to be met, I am not going to do the show for you? So this is how discussions are happening. This is how things are happening. So banking in nutshell, giving background, is in a mess, and situation is very bad in India also. Unfortunately, we tend to believe that the so-called demonetization of the rupee notes and XYZ, this matters. But to be very honest, that these are very small things. This country do not have the EBAM, electronic banking account management. The SWIFT technologies are completely absent. The infrastructure-wise banking is extremely poor. Absence of EBAM able to create millions of shell and shells companies in the banking system. Last but not the least, before moving to technical session, is the banking system is sitting on a very shallow foreign exchange market. There are one or two traders here amongst five people those who join. The foreign exchange market in India is very shallow, so there is nothing which Reserve Bank is offering. So this is the little background of how the banking is happening, and banking is certainly in a mess. Maybe provided 2017, I might not be surprised that in case we would see a fall of one or two big banks, and probably I see a fall of Wells Fargo, your Deutsche Bank, your ING, and one or two big banks. Yes, Blackstone events are always happen. There you cannot discount, you cannot take Blackstone events out like, so all of a sudden you get to know that there is something which happened with the JP Morgan, and JP Morgan shares fell by more than 30% or so. So such kind of things we cannot discount it. We cannot discount it. Now I would like to ask a question from everybody, all five here. According to you, which all derivative instruments a bank takes? Because we are talking about a European bank here, so we are not talking about an Indian bank whose regulator is Reserve Bank of India, who is highly pessimistic in nature, who don't want to do anything for you. So if you are acting as a head for say Deutsche Bank, which all instrument you will take, in which all branches of your bank you would cover? Can I have a little idea, please? All the five people, if you are acting as a head of the Deutsche Bank, which all derivative instrument take and why? And please feel honest. Please feel free. I don't mind if you give wrong answer also. Forward and swaps. Okay. This is a very unique answer. If you speak with any Indian people, they always talk forward, swaps, and options. Srinivasan sir, anything? I never mind if you give a wrong answer. Options. Okay. So one missed by ma'am has been given by Yogesh. Same forward swaps. Other than okay. Now let me tell you. Okay, can anyone help me, please? You know my style of teaching. I always asking lot of question only to make sure that even if we don't know, that we get to know, because the job of the teacher is just not to speak. His job is also to make sure that somebody else will also speak. So what according to you is the size of the foreign exchange market every day? So sitting today, which is 26th November 2016, what is the size of the foreign exchange market every day? Can I have little guess, please? Right, wrong, doesn't matter. Please, you are in the class of a Treasury Consulting LLP, which is a very practical company. We don't believe in theory, so you are welcome to give any answer. We don't mind. 50 trillion. You are much higher, ma'am. You are much higher. It would be in trillion of dollar. Of course, it is trillions of dollar. It is not in billions of dollars. Okay, it is, yes. $5 trillion is a very near answer. So today the foreign exchange market in India foreign exchange market across the globe every day is $5.03 trillion, which I am writing here, which is $5.03 trillion. Now there is a catch in this. The catch is that majority of this 5.03 trillion, as you people rightly said, yes, forwards are there, options are there, swaps are there, but unfortunately, out of this $5.03 trillion, a major component is a spot. spot trading which is happening, like you are selling today and you are acknowledging your transaction or the on T+2 basis, or could be T+1 basis, depends upon few currencies like Philippines peso and your Czech crown. Yes, this is OTC market, sir. We are talking about OTC market. There is no data of exchange traded we have right now, and this 5.03 is given by the annual. It's a triennial survey which 3 times in a year Bank for International Settlement is doing across the globe. So as per the latest survey, the value is 5.03 trillion, approximately 5 trillion. Yes, another question is the spot included in the derivative? This answer is this question being asked is incorrect. Why? Because derivative is a derivative is a financial or non-financial product whose value depends upon an underlying, where underlying could be exchange traded, underlying could be anything. But at the same time, the spot is not a derivative. Spot is a way how you trade. So spot is a tenor. You can have spot next, spot week, spot month, 1 year, 2 year, till 30 years. So major percentage of spot is approximately BIS. If I'm not incorrect and my memory collect is right, it is close to 60 to 70, between 60 to 70%. I don't know exact, but majority of this 5.03 is from the spot market. A very little is forward and very little is option. So before moving ahead, any doubt? Please note that this class is getting recorded and you would be able to see on the YouTube at roughly 2 between anytime 2 or 3 p.m. Yes, anything else? Any more questions? Any more questions? Any questions? Okay, let's move forward. Now, one thing which we like to understand from a banking perspective, we always say forward, options, swaps, and so. Let me put your question to all the 5 people, those who are here. Is forward is a swap? Sorry, my mistake. Is forward is a derivative? Is forward is a derivative contract? All the 5 people. Yogesh, yes. Srinivasan, yes. Sir, forward contract is not a derivative contract. Options contract is a derivative contract. Can anyone please help me understand that the what is derivative, whose value is deriving from somebody else? Now that value which is getting derived, it could be interest rate, could be currency, could be stock, could be exchange traded, could be exchange traded. What the value, if today you are selling a Indian rupee forward, then his value depends upon what? How can you derive his value over the period? Do you have the option Greeks? Delta, theta, vega, gamma, phi, rho? Sir, spot price and list of other factors are here for price discovery. But the question is, after taking the contract, suppose you have taken an option contract today and you wanted to cancel this option contract, or you wanted to re-hedge yourself, which is known as delta hedging or the gamma hedging. You can do using option Greeks, which is delta, gamma, theta, vega, phi, and others. But do you have these in the case of forward contracts? And as regards your ma'am, your is concerned that it value is derived from the interest rate. This is not interest rate. This is known as interest rate parity. First thing, this is interest rate parity. Secondly, it's not his value. The forward premiums are derived from interest rate parity. So the forward premiums are derived from interest rate parity, not the spot rate. So example today, can anyone help me? Although all 5 are the part of the group, let me see how much you are following the group. What is 1 year premium which is trading approximately near about? Today, roughly 26th November 2016, the 1 year Indian rupee premium versus dollar is trading how much? No idea. Let me see how many people are. Sir, 1 year premium is roughly 2 rupee 50 paisa, which is much lower. Big few 2 years ago, it was 5 rupee 30 paisa something. Yes, I appreciate the spot was at 63 that amount of time, but today it is trading at 2 rupee 50 paisa, which is much lesser. The reason is because of the imminent hike in the forward prices, and because of the imminent hike in the forward prices, and also imminent hike on the because of the expectation that in January, when Reserve Bank will meet, they will cut down the interest rate by at least 50 bips. Because of that, the forward premium R is trading very low. But let's move forward to the question again. You are absolutely right from an Indian context that these are the things, but few things which you need to correct yourself is that forward is not a derivative, it is option which is a derivative. Option, swaps, option payoff, the so-called CDS by Yogesh, yes, it is a derivative contract. Now we need to understand that banks take several type of derivative contracts every year to make sure that they are able to hedge their position. Now, before saying how what all they need to hedge, let me put a question to you. If you are acting as a CEO of Deutsche Bank, all five those who are here in the webinar, can you please guide me which all parts of your banks you would be covering? So now it is not a derivative contract. I am asking a different question. You five all are acting as a CEO of Deutsche Bank, whose name is John Cranes. Which all parts of the bank you would be covering? So you have a big bank. You are one of the largest European bank. You are not State Bank of India. You are not Punjab National Bank. You are everywhere across the globe. Now, can I have answer, please? Which all parts you would be covering of your bank? Like in the case of winter, we try and cover ourselves completely, everything. So similarly, this is like a winter. So foreign exchange market can impact you anyway. So how you would cover yourself? Please, we never mind even if you give the wrong answer. All liabilities, yes, exactly. But please open your diary. Sir, please open your diary. This is not liabilities. There is a technical name to it. I hope you all are having a diary near to you in which you are writing and making some important notes. All liabilities is the first answer given. I am waiting for the second answer. Ma'am, please don't feel shy while answering. We never mind. Wrong answer. All liabilities, I would say misnomerly speaking is the right answer. There is nothing wrong in that, but technically speaking, this is not the right answer. Okay, anti-money laundering, liquidity risk in currency risk. Sir, can I have a technical answer, please? Treasury is a political answer, sir. You are talking about a bank. Nijaz, sir, this is not a company. This is a bank. We are here to discuss about a bank, not a company. Asset liability management, asset risk. You are very close. I am not saying you are technically incorrect, Yogesh sir. You are 100% technically correct, but you are not reaching to the point where I want you to reach. Can I have answer, please? Now, okay, in the interest of time. So banks are covering the following risk. Now, just confirm me, everybody able to see the whiteboard, which is everybody able to see the whiteboard so that I can start writing. Okay, people able to see the whiteboard? So banks are we are strictly talking about European bank. We are not talking about Punjab National Bank or any other local bank. So we need to talk from their perspective. Yes, we have one participant here from Mr. Yogesh, who is also from one of the European bank, which is Royal Bank of Scotland. But unfortunately, their bank is in the negative news for all reasons. Please don't mind, sir. But they are also European bank. And believe me, when Royal Bank of Scotland was during his good days, Royal Bank of Scotland was one of the best um, European banks, and it was a dream job. But unfortunately, I would appreciate that they had taken few wrong positions in the market and consistently doing it, and the absolute poor leadership, just put them in a hell. Else, during the good days, Royal Bank of Scotland was one of the best banks I ever heard. In fact, when I started my career in 2017, we used to say that proudly say that we are associated with the Royal Bank of Scotland. But yes, in the interest of time, let's move forward. So banks do covering the following ways. I am writing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 so that you people can see. Number one, you rightly said bank would be covering the currency risk. Now, currency risk which bank is covering, this is not a currency. This is known as retail risk, which bank is covering. Don't forget that we are talking about Deutsche Bank. So Deutsche Bank is having branches across the globe. Can all the five people here, can you please tell me, can you name me any good country, developed or developing country where Deutsche Bank is not having any presence? We are not talking about Somalia and Iraq, but considering all good countries like Singapore, Malaysia, Hong Kong, Dubai, Canada, US, could be your Muscat, your Abu Dhabi, Deutsche Bank is having a very strong presence. That is a separate fact. They are a little bit mess here. So first thing which you are covering is the currency risk, which is known as retail risk. Second is which you are covering, which you people, which Yogesh sir rightly mentioned, but not technically 100% correct, which is known as immunization risk. Now, what do you mean by immunization? Before explaining to you, can anyone out of five please help me understand what is immunization? And please answer me, assuming you are acting as a CEO of Deutsche Bank. So you are not acting as a novice. Any guess, sir? I never mind. Why I'm asking is that you come out the job of the trainer is to motivate people to speak. The job of the trainer is not only to speak, speak, speak. Any guess? If you are acting as a okay, all five are married here. Let me ask you that way. All five are married here. All five. All five have kids. Yes. So you have kids. So you always immunize your kid. Immunize in the sense, suppose God forbid any wrong thing is happening in the market. So you immunize your kids. You immunize yourself also. There are a lot of diseases we have across around. Protect them in a very diplomatic tone. You always protect them. Similarly, immunization risk has been derived from this. For banking also, this is known as immunization risk. How immunization? Now, immunization is divided into two parts. Please open your diaries and note clearly, very clearly. A bank derivative contract, especially when we are referring to a Deutsche Bank, is dependent upon Deutsche Bank enters in four kind of markets. Four or could be five or could be several, but majorly four or five kind of market. Everyone on the diary? Shall I continue? So the first market, unfortunately, we tend to believe that foreign exchange market is all. So suppose in any training session, if you ask any question, what is foreign exchange market and what are the type of foreign exchange market? 99% people will answer options, especially in India. Options, swaps, forward, ye, wo, and all. But actually, this is not correct. Foreign exchange market is divided into two parts based upon markets. If now, please note carefully. If somebody will ask you define foreign exchange market, you should ask him two questions. Sir, you are asking if you are asking this question from the settlement point of view, then foreign exchange market is divided deliverable market and non-deliverable market. If you are asking from a regulator point of view, then it is divided into two parts: OTC market, which is known as over the counter, and another is ETD. ETD stands for exchange traded derivative. Sir, if you are asking from the variety of the instruments, then it is divided into five parts: your forward contract, your option contract, your option payoffs, your interest rate derivatives, your exotic derivatives, and could be clientele derivative. Sir, if you are asking from the intent point of view, then foreign exchange market is divided into five following parts. Number one is all about currencies and currencies. Like in Bollywood, we are saying entertainment. Second biggest market of the globe is the interest rate derivative. How much is the size of interest rate derivative? It is 100 trillion. So every day foreign exchange market is 5 trillion and interest rate derivative is 100 trillion. We are talking about this way when it comes to immunization risk. So please note in your diary very importantly that immunization risk is one of the biggest risks we have across the globe. If you are thinking that the so-called forward or options and these things is able to help you, then you are wrong. The biggest intent for the bank is to cover the immunization risk first. Third is your credit risk. Foreign exchange market talks about cash flow, immunization risk talk about interest rate, and credit risk talk about CDS, which Yogesh mentioned, which is credit default swap. But CDS varies from country to country. You have CDS, you have TRS, you have single name CDS, you have double name CDS, you have single basket CDS, you have multiple basket CDS, you have one trigger CDS, you have multi trigger CDS, and so on and so forth. Fourth and important market which banks are covering is your exotic oblique structured derivative. Can anyone of you please help me before I move forward and understand why there is a need for structured derivative for a bank like Deutsche versus if we compare this with State Bank of India, Punjab National Bank, or any other Bank of India? Why big banks, European and American banks, are so much entered into structured derivative, though they know that the pricing of the structured derivative is not always correct? Any five? Yes, which is absolute right answer is by Yogesh. To exactly meet the requirement, structured derivative is like just like Ferrari, where you want a four-wheel drive or a two-wheel drive, your seat covers color, how many seats you want, so on. So it is as per the user made. Structured derivatives and are also known as clientele derivatives also. So what is clientele derivatives? CLINTELE, clientele derivatives. I will this is clientele derivative which is defined as per the particular client. Now moving forward, a bank important job is to cover the immunization risk, which is the second category of the foreign exchange market, which is known as interest rate derivative. Now everybody is clear that as a bank CEO, all five people, are you clear that as a bank CEO, your intent is to cover what? And I hope you now appreciate that the first answer which we got, like option forward swaps, these are a small penny versus the small penny in the big pie. All five are clear. Shall we move forward? Any questions till now you would like to ask? Any questions? We'll wait for 5 minutes. Any questions you would like to ask? Okay. Now if you cover as a immunization risk, I know I'm covering interest rate risk of my bank. But immunization, how would I define that? There should be a standard way. Yogesh mentioned rightly, like he said that it is asset and liability management. Technically this is not incorrect, this is correct, 100% correct, but I need to segregate this into two parts. Let me answer this in a little technical way and a little easy way. Suppose the winters are going on, would you be wearing t-shirt? No. Suppose the summers are going on, would you be wearing the sweater? No. So I should know that which part I need to hit. So immunization risk is further divided into two parts. One is known as RSA. which I'm writing here, which is known as risk sensitive assets, and second is RSL. One is known as risk sensitive, just 1 minute, liabilities. Unfortunately, we tend to believe that the only liabilities are supposed to be hedged, but assets cannot be hedged. How many of you before this session tend to believe that the same way, that only liability is supposed to be hedged, but asset cannot be hedged? And this is where the biggest catch of the game is. We always tend to believe that, and especially in India, wherever I go and take trainings, there is a big perception that, oh, as a treasurer, your job is to cover only liabilities, forget the asset. No. Now, immunization risk is here. So there are two kind of immunization risk. Now, I explained what is immunization. Immunization means to immunize your risk sensitive asset or risk sensitive liabilities from the interest rate scenario. Now, out of 5, can anyone help me in understanding, if you are acting as a CEO of Deutsche Bank, how would you do the immunization risk? Now at least you would be able to answer. If you are acting as a CEO of the Deutsche Bank, now how you would be covering the immunization? At least, is the definition of the immunization risk is clear to everybody? It is not hedging, ma'am. Now you give a wrong guess, I never mind. If you are acting as a CEO of the Deutsche Bank, how you would be covering the immunization risk? Okay, here we go. The two type of immunization risk is, one is known as gross immunization, which is also sometimes also known as dual hedging, because there is one school of thought. I never appreciate this school of thought, but there is a school of thought which suggests that the gross immunization should be termed as double hedging. I would never appreciate that, but nonetheless, my job is to tell you both. So in which you cover RSA plus RSL both. On the other hand, you have net immunization. Net immunization means you would be covering the difference between RSA minus RSL. The most unfortunate myth which is associated with net immunization across the globe is that it should be hedged when it is greater than 0 or when it is less than 0, or ideally net immunization should be greater than 0. Even if you read the 1 minute, there is a question which we have. Net immunization is more preferable to safeguard transaction cost. Sir, as I already told you, Yogesh, there are two school of thoughts across the globe. The one school of thought which I never support, which is gross immunization. Another school of thought which is net immunization, which I always support. I never say who is right, who is wrong, because there are multiple way of doing a transaction. But the people, those who are supporting gross immunization, I will never say they are wrong, because there is a reason to it. The reason is that gross immunization sometimes is more effective than the net immunization. The reason here is, suppose you have a client. So you are from Royal Bank of Scotland. I'll give you from your perspective. Suppose Infosys is coming to you. You have one person from Infosys here. Suppose Infosys is coming to you, and Infosys is come and would like to hedge their receivables with Royal Bank of Scotland in a structured way. Although it is $9.5 billion company, they would like to do in a structured way. So they are not asking you forward, options or swap. They are asking a structured derivative from you. As a Royal Bank of Scotland, this is nothing for you. You can do that very easily because you are the masters in derivative. And after 2008, you lost so many dollars like other banks, so you turned out to be more masters. Because mistakes always makes people perfect. Now, if you are doing the net immunization in that case, which is you are doing the net of your RSA minus RSL, this might hedge your exposure. This might hedge your exposure, but this is not a perfect hedge. You getting me? Everybody, all five getting me? All five. This might hedge your exposure, but this is not a perfect hedge. Because this is not a perfect hedge, then it might possible that over the period you might save yourself, but if any wrong event would happen only pertaining to the valuation of that structured derivative you did with Infosys, you are gone. You are also gone and Infosys is also gone. Because you derived the structured derivative only for Infosys, but you did the net immunization. Since you did the net immunization, so you have taken a difference of RSA minus RSL, and you have taken and I hope you appreciate this fact that the difference never be a perfect hedge. Henceforth, majorly I will appreciate that gross immunization is all about transaction cost, but at the same time I also appreciate that considering the case of the bank like Deutsche, Royal Bank of Scotland, JP Morgan, Citi, HSBC, UBS, Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, you cannot say that they don't have a structured derivative. They have trillions of structured derivative, and because of this structured derivative, they need to, sometimes they are doing gross immunization, sometimes they are doing net immunization. So a transaction cost of $5,000 to $7,000 should be ignored versus the mark to market loss of billions of dollars if this would backfire. Is that clear to everybody? Any questions till now you would like to ask? Let us have 2 minutes pause. Any questions? No question means nothing understood. Because if you understood anything, then you must be asking a question. I hope people are appreciating, people are getting what we are saying here. I hope you are learning something new. If you are sparing your 1 hour. So it is not like an orthodox content which everybody is selling and so has been. Okay, now let's move higher. Now please note in your diaries very carefully that immunization risk can only be hedged using interest rate swaps. Now please note in your diaries I am writing here, although the live recording would be available on the YouTube after 1 or 2 hours, so you would be able to see that. You have dollar IRS. In the interest of time, I don't write complete interest rate swap. You have reverse dollar IRS. You have OIS. Here I mention because that I need to mention, which is overnight index swaps. You have asset swaps. Asset swap is equals to bankruptcy plus hedging. Once you know that you are dealing with the bankrupt party and still you enter into this transaction, this is known as asset swap. Then you known as LIBOR fiat swaps. My mistake. LIBOR fiat swaps means when credit spread is 0. This is impossible. But theoretically speaking, not theoretically speaking, once in blue moon, we have seen LIBOR fiat swap also. Now what is LIBOR fiat swap? I hope you heard about this word, that Infosys is hedging interest rate liability with RBS and they are offering L plus 120. L plus 120 basis point. I hope you might have heard this word. All five. Now what is LIBOR fiat swap? LIBOR fiat swap is Infosys is offering Infosys is doing interest rate hedging with the Royal Bank of Scotland and the cost is L. Where is credit spread? Where is credit spread? Credit spread is 0. Now since the credit spread is 0, henceforth the world of foreign exchange has given a dedicate name to it, which is known as LIBOR fiat swap. where the credit spread is zero. So if somebody would ask you in any interview or over the period of the time, somebody might have asked you that what do you mean by LIBOR fiat? You will simply have to refer in one line, when you turn out credit spread zero, then irrespective of the currency, this is known as a LIBOR fiat swap. Okay, shall we move forward, or any questions here till now? I never mind questions, please have your question. No, ma'am, please don't say sorry. Yes, your question, please. Yogesh sir, question. 120 bips is also represent some element of the credit risk, sir. You would not. I'm sorry, I'm not been able to clear you. This is credit spread. What is credit spread? Okay. Now, credit spread is equals to, now this is credit spread. Cost of hedging interest rate swaps, offered interest rate swaps of Infosys in interbank market, or this is also known as CVA, which is credit valuation adjustment. In the interest of time, I cannot write much. CVA for Infosys, or this is known as DVA, debit value adjustment, for which bank we assume? RBS. For RBS. So L plus 120. So before giving rate to Infosys, you will go to the interest rate market and you will see that if I need to hedge the exposure which is given, which I am doing with Infi, the cost is turning out to be L plus 110. So 10 you will assume your margin or the repricing risk, because LIBOR is always repriced 6 months. So you can reprice to 3 months also, you can reprice to 1 month also, that is not a problem, but this is always repriced 1 month, 6 months generally, which is what how markets move. So you include that cost. So this 120 basis point is that. Okay, now let's move forward. This is how these are the various swaps. One you have is amortization swaps. One you have is the accreting swap. So swaps are infinite. You just move on. Can anyone help me? What third you need to cover? You covered your currency risk, which is your retail risk. You covered your interest rate risk, which is technically known as immunization risk. What else? As a CEO of the Deutsche Bank, what else? Is your job done? As a CEO of the Deutsche Bank, what else you need to cover? Is your job done? Credit risk, of course, which is CDS, single name CDS, multi name CDS, and so on and so forth. What else? Fourth. What else? Sir, here there is nothing known as liquidity. Liquidity risk is nothing, sir. This is a theoretical concept which is in the books. Liquidity risk is just how you manage your cash flows. So you will manage your cash flows in such a way that you will, now since he asked this question, let me answer this in short. You have three ways to cover the liquidity risk. You have bullet, you have barbell, you have ladder. So liquidity risk is 100% theoretical. So even though you are taking a hedging position of $100 billion in the market, you will put it like a way that the flow of the money should be liquid in nature, so that it should not matter that ki pure ke pure $100 billion is coming at a point of time which is known as bullet, or $100 billion is divided into three parts, which is 50, 30, 20, or it is like a ladder. Suppose it is a 10-year transaction, so $10 billion per year. So liquidity risk is a complete theoretical risk. While yeah, I'm not saying that it doesn't have any practical relevance, but all the intelligent foreign exchange traders, whenever they do any transaction, they will always do on the ladder. They never do on the bullet. Yes, at the same time, I'm also not saying that you should not do on the bullet. You should do on the bullet, but probably when you feel that the doing a bullet transaction is only in the case of the structured or the clientele derivative, like Infosys is doing with the Royal Bank of Scotland. Henceforth. Fifth, everybody able to see the whiteboard, or should I shift to new whiteboard? Everybody able to see the whiteboard, or should I shift to new whiteboard? You can see, okay, it's full. Okay, so fifth and last, which is very important, which you would be covering, and unfortunately you don't have this market in India, but for a banking perspective, this is very important market across the globe. You name any big bank, JP Morgan, Citi, Deutsche, HSBC, Bank of America, Standard Chartered, UBS, Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, not a single bank you get to know who don't have that market. Not a single big bank. I'm not talking small bank like Punjab National Bank or Union Bank of India. And this is known as securitization of receivables oblique payables oblique net of oblique a pool, which is technically known as, can anyone help me now? I have already answered you, the securitization of receivables, payables, or a pool. Can anyone help me? As a Deutsche Bank, this is technically known as all five. From 2008 till now, every day you will get this word in the newspaper. Absolutely perfect. This is ABS and MPS. This is the pool, sir. This is known as CDO, collateralized debt obligation. CMO, collateralized mortgage obligation. CBO, collateralized bond obligation. TIO, collateralized investment obligation. And there you can create variety. You rightly said, when it comes to pool, the pool is, because securitization is the pool. The pool is ABS, asset backed securities. It is MBS, mortgage backed securities. Yogesh sir, can you help me? What are the two type of mortgage backed securities banks are maintaining? And especially in case of your bank, which is Royal Bank of Scotland, or the bank which we are discussing, your nearest competitor Deutsche Bank, both of you are European banks. What are the two type of MBS you bank is covering in securitization? Anyone else would like to answer this? Okay, here we go. So you would be covering CMBS. CMBS is commercial mortgage backed security, or you will covering RMBS, which is residential mortgage backed securities. One you would be covering hybrids, which have both. So pool, if specifically for ABS, MBS, you have commercial mortgage backed securities, you have residential mortgage backed securities, and you have hybrids. Okay, shall I move forward? Everybody out. I'll using the next board because I would be needing some space. Okay, here we go. Yes, there's a question which seems coming. Yes, ma'am. You have any question? Yes. Here we go. Click a photo. You all can click a photo. Take out your mobile phones. Till the time I'm increasing the class by another 10 minutes. Take out your mobile phones and you can click the photo. Okay, let's move. Now, very important note please. Whatever derivative your contracts have taken, this is the first part of the game. But unfortunately, especially in India and few other Asian economies, we tend to believe that the job is done. No, the job has started. It's not yet done. Why it has started? You need to link your hedging. Hedging is all. So now I am using a word hedging. You need to link your hedging. Hedging means your I would say your all the five, which is foreign exchange, interest rate derivative, credit risk, and others. You need to link your hedges with your exposures. Whether you have exposures or not. Now, when it comes to Indian market is a very psyche market. So behind everything, you should have an exposure. But this is not the reality in the life when we have an American and the European markets. I am sorry that I am using a word. Please never mind this word. This is known as over. Okay, let me use some diplomatic word, not this word, which is known as overstanding hedges, because the word which I have, I should not use that, which is known as overstanding hedges. In India, there is no market for overstanding hedges. One is overstanding hedges, you are hedging more exposure, hedging more than your exposure. But in European and American banking, there is an exposure, there is overstanding hedging market. Now, I'm not saying that this is right or this is wrong, because in 2008 financial crisis was predominantly because of the overstanding hedges. So I'm not saying this is 100% right. At the same time, I'm not saying this is 100% wrong. But yes, this is what we have in the market. So this is a big debatable point, and six people are here could have 16 different opinions on that. But yes, any questions? No, sir. My name is Rahul. It is different from proprietary trading. Proprietary trading is different, sir. Okay, let me ask. You have one trader. Srinivas sir, would you like to explain your friend what is proprietary trading all about in just 1 or 2 minutes? What? Because he is also a trader. Okay, let me explain. What is proprietary trading is? Now I'll give you two definitions of proprietary trading. The original definition of the proprietary trading, which was proposed by Volcker. Volcker means the ex-Federal Reserve chairman. He said that the banks have investment banking divisions. You name any bank. JP Morgan, Citi, Royal Bank of Scotland, Credit Suisse, Goldman Sachs, Bank of America, UBS, Standard Chartered, HSBC, Bank of America, any bank. Volcker said these banks have huge investment banking divisions. Sorry, my mistake. These banks were having a huge investment banking division in 2008. Now, in this investment banking division, these banks are holding or controlling, or they are having a huge surplus money in their books, which is not their money, which is the client money. Plus, the majority of the banks we mentioned, which is Goldman, Standard Chartered, UBS, HSBC, Bank of America, RBS, Deutsche, they have their own retail position also in the market. Since you have a retail position, so you have CASA exposure. Refer the whiteboard here. You have CASA exposure, which is current account and saving account exposure. So what these banks used to do, the following. Investment banking money plus CASA plus leverage. And when I'm saying leverage means 1:1,000. I think more than that. That generally happened in 2008. They used to create the hedging of all this. And when this hedge backfires, then what happens? Money is not yours, so they are gone. Money is not yours, retail investment is gone. since or $1 you created a leverage of 1 to 1000, then you are in a mess. And net result, 2008 financial crisis, and majority of the bank wind it up. Bear Stearns, Lehman Brothers, Northern Rock, and the list is pretty big. Is that clear? Hello? This is called proprietary trading. Another example of the proprietary trading which one of our friend is doing here and I am also doing, which is that you have your own money plus own money, not others' money. You are creating reasonably, have own money, you are creating reasonable leverage which is here in your pocket, and then you are taking position in the market. But there is a difference. The difference is this hedging position is taken both OTC and ETD. ETD stands for exchange traded. But this proprietary trading which we are talking about, this is only ETD. This is only ETD, no OTC. I am right, Shrimas sir? Can you take in the OTC? So you can only take in the exchange which he is taking. So he will confirm you which exchange you are using, NSE or BSE. NSE. I'm also using NSE. So this is the second form of the proprietary trading which we are taking, where we are taking the position. And Treasury Consulting LLP very soon will have the own foreign exchange desk in India, wherein we will guide our clients on how to take the positions. So that is not very far, very near. Okay, let's move forward. But 2 minutes. Any questions? In the meantime, we have two members, one from Dubai and one my very good friend from Calcutta, Rahul Bothra. So what's up, Rahul? How is life going? How does hedging backfire? How does hedging backfire? Hedging would always backfire. It would surely backfire. Hedging will backfire because of, if we allow me to speak technically, number one reason, you don't know what to hedge, how to hedge, when to hedge, and why to hedge. Secondly, you are an accidental treasurer. I am very sorry, I am not speaking politically, but there are variety of prime ministers we have in India, those who are already termed as an accidental prime minister. Third, like you always rightly mentioned, you are on the wrong side of the trade. This is not wrong side of the trade, this is wrong side of the curve. Example, today even a novice people in India know that Indian rupee is heading towards 69. Yes, Reserve Bank of India is selling, so we saw from 68.80 to 68.47, so a small 40 paisa decrease because there's a big pressure. But if you speak with 10 people, nobody will tell you that Indian rupee will move to 66. Everybody is expecting 69, and considering Federal Reserve is rising rates and all. So how hedging backfires? You are the treasury head of Infosys, $9.5 billion of exposures. And what mistake you are doing? You are selling your receivable now. You know that Indian rupee is depreciating. It will head towards 69, and there are predictions that it will hedge towards 72 also. But what you are doing, you are hedging now, and henceforth is backfires. This will lead to M2M gains and losses. Speak from other. If you are L&T, you know that Indian rupees is moving towards 70, and somehow Reserve Bank of India reduced from 68.80 to 68.47, which is roughly 40 or 30 paisa difference. What you are doing, you are not buying now. You are waiting that it will come down. It is a suicide. Secondly, even though you are buying using forward contracts, rather you should buying using option contracts. So both mistakes you are doing. And even though you are doing using option contracts, you are hedging using in the money and at the money. Ideally, you should hedge out of the money. So this is how. So hedging backfires. Majority of my experience of the last 10 years in corporate treasurer suggests that hedging backfires once you have an accidental treasurer on the seat. Means somehow because of contacts or whatever way he turned out to be an accidental treasurer. So we have 5 minutes. Now let me, in the interest of time, let me explain you there are three ways we can calculate the mark to market losses. One way of calculating is L1 mark to market. Another way is calculating L2 mark to matrix. Another is L3 mark to model. So this was for the today, and I would request you, all those who have any questions which they wanted to discuss with me, please join me Skype immediately after that, Rahul5327, and we can have audio chat also on the Skype. And on behalf of Treasury Consulting LLP, I would like to thank you to join our first webinar and acknowledge our effort in that regard. We as a company would continue to push the best knowledge in the market, and we believe in practicality not in theoreticality, and our online academy will continue to launch a lot of courses in that regards. So we will continue to see you. We will have more webinars over the period of the time, although the topic not yet completed, but in the interest of time we would have a lot of webinars. So this is just a start. Now we can schedule class anytime whenever we want. We don't need anybody approval for that. But yes, I would like to request you that we have a limited seats of 25. I hope you appreciate that we are a startup, so cost is always a concern for us. How Deutsche Bank is cooking is like this: L1 and L2. Don't worry, we will rephrase this second part in the next few days, and we will explain you how. Because initially we have to make your fundamentals that how exactly this happens. So now you know that as a bank, which all derivative instruments you are taking. If you directly go there, then things would be little mess. So we have still 3 minutes approximately. In case you have any question or you want me to explain L1, L2, L3 here. Thank you, Nijaz sir. There are a lot more initiatives which are on the way. In the interest of 2.5 minutes, let me explain now. Please open your diary and write it. I would be little fast. I'm sorry, but please request. L1 means mark to market. Oh, sorry, market spelling is wrong. Mark to market. Now, mark to market means, I will explain in as an accountant, hardcore chartered accountant. It means 100% markets data and 0% yours data. So if INR will head to 70, you will take the spot rate as 70. That is what you will do. L2 means less than 100%. Oh, yes, it means less than 100% market data and 0% yours data. It means that you have some say. You were saying INR is heading towards 69. I tend to disagree with this because I don't think that INR should head towards 69. The ideal intrinsic value is 68 or 68 and half or something like this. Now I have still 58 seconds with me. L3 means 0% markets data and 100% viewers data. This is L3 is all about. And this applies to both US GAAP, IFRS and IND AS. So next time when we meet, we will discuss it and we cover the Deutsche Bank financial, because by that time you would have the specific idea how things are going in the financial transaction. And see you soon. So thank you very much. All those who have any question, you can join me Skype Rahul. You can join me on the Skype Rahul5327 and we can have any questions. Have a good luck. I'm well available on the Skype. Thank you.